Hi everyone, I'm Gregor. I'm the maintainer of OctoKit, which is the official JavaScript SDK for all GitHub platform APIs. And with me today is Francis Gulotta, who is leading the scripts team at Shopify and who's maintaining Node serial port.
Just one of many people on that team. Yeah, and let's see. The Node serial port has been around for a very long time, since the early versions of Node. Scripts team has only been around a couple of years, I think, but they're doing a lot of WebAssembly and stuff. So I'm like very happy to shift some of my knowledge that direction. We're doing some cool stuff, which
Cool. So there's some overlap there with WebAssembly.
In the tech and how do you execute native code, right? And that's a hard thing to do with Node.
Well, that's a perfect segue. So yeah, we will talk about creating these native bindings today for Node.js and how we can combine them all into an automated NPM release process.
So should I start just about what serial port is, or what the problem we're solving is? Or
maybe explain what serial port is and kind of what the problem is with why do we need native bindings with Node.js at all?
So the first thing is Node serial port lets you use Node.js to talk to serial devices. So you get serial devices of all kinds. The easiest one for me to show you is an Arduino, which is plugged into my computer today. So this is running nothing but an Echo software on it. You give data in and you get data out. And so serial existed before USB. It existed before 1,000 different ways we have devices communicate to each other, right? I should have brought this in the other room. I even have a serial mouse from the 80s that I got at an electronic supply store. And literally all it does is output bytes. And so serial port software reads bytes in and writes bytes out. That's at the base level, what it does. And there's a lot of little variations and flow controls and crazy stuff that goes on. And hopefully you never have to deal with it. But Node serial port itself is used right now in a lot of things like drones and apparently 3D printing pancake bots, ATMs. There are ATMs out there running it. All sorts of stuff. And it came from the Johnny 5 robotics world, which is where is this? Sorry, but Johnny 5 was like the jQuery of Arduino back in the day, and still is a great way to get started for robotics. So the reason we're here is in order for it to do its thing, we need to have some C code running, not just JavaScript. And the reason is that there are no serial port APIs in Node, right? And so when you need to open a serial port and write to it and then change baud rates and stuff, the only APIs that exist are from the operating system. And those are usually exposed in some sort of dynamic library or from the kernel. Or I'm actually really fuzzy on exactly how that works, but you can compile C code that runs those commands, and I can show you some of them. It's not incredibly complicated. We'll go to the Linux one because the Linux one is pretty, or Unix. It's pretty similar between Linux and OS 10. Not exactly the same, but you need to open a file descriptor. You need to set a baud rate using what's this TC get attribute, and you can find the man pages on these things, but this is the API you have to work with. And you will not find a function called TC get attribute in Node. And so what we do is we write this C++ code, and then we expose it to Node.js as a binary module. And I'm literally just going to, let's see, is there binary here? Could have sworn
No, I think that's something else. Like look
Add-ons,
for
C++.
Node native.
There we
Oh,
are.
okay. Oh, yeah.
And so this gives us a way to build a C++ project, or honestly, Rust. And there's some WASM support coming, which is a little different. That lets you basically pull functions into JavaScript land from C and then pass objects in or data in and get data out. And so this lets us write the serial port code that needs to use all the low level and then expose functions to JavaScript. And then just, like this is, I'm using Nan here, which is a compatibility library between different versions of Node, but this is the open method, and it takes some arguments, this is the update method, this is the close method. So anyway, that's in a nutshell what a binary module is. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. The C code makes my head spin a little bit, but
I mean,
I
I'm
think
not
you
gonna lie, me too.
explained the problem very well.
So that's the problem of why we need it, but not the problem that we're here to solve, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you distribute this? So if it was JavaScript, you just put it all in an npm package and send it off to npm, right? But for C, you got to compile it to the operating system you're on. And so for every operating system, there's different files. And even more than that, for each version of Node, there are different there's different, you need to compile it separately, differently. And even more than that, Electron has its own. And so for every release of Node, and this is the last bindings release we had, bindings is the lowest level library where I contain all the C code, it's the name of the package. I have 86 builds, 86 files, right? And so so depending on your system, so maybe you're a 32-bit Windows running Electron, I'm sorry, you're 64-bit Windows running Electron, like ABI version 7.6. Or maybe you're, on OS 10 and you're running, one of the later nodes with the ABI version of V8.8. ABI is there's like an API versioning for the C++ that's different than the version number of Node. But so like each one of these is different. And so the way it works now is when you install this package, it goes and detects what system you're on, goes to GitHub and downloads the right file. But if you notice, these are pretty small. And so a better way, a little more reliable way, and honestly a little easier to manage way, because then you can't change stuff after the fact. Like if I go delete these things here, everybody's screwed, right? And when they try to install this, regardless of the fact it's on npm, they just can't download these binaries. They have to build it themselves, which doesn't often work depending on how you have your computer set up. Is you put all these files in the npm package, ship it all to npm together. They're not very big. You use the one you need, you have them all. If you're making an Electron app for other people to download, they have it all. I think a lot of people use Electron to I see a lot of Kickstarter projects using it. So they're like, hey, control the thing, just run this Electron app. But they got to figure out how to go and download all of these things and ship it with their Electron app. So anyway.
So you see them right now kind of saying, well, you have an Electron app, but it only works on Mac.
Yeah, or they're like, how do you download them? How do you get it all together? Like they figured out ways. Often they manually download them all, or they don't upgrade, which is a pain in the butt. Because I don't, there are people using some really old versions of memory leaks and stuff like that. And they're just like, it's cool. I got that one working, and I think bringing this together will help.
All right.
So
then, serial port is a huge project. So we had the idea to start out with a fresh repository to leave out all the legacy of serial port for now and just focus on the native.
That is correct.
Build.
And let's see, where did my...
I think I linked it.
I think you did too. Here
binding
it is.
CTP.
So serial port itself is a Lerna project, and so I grabbed one of the packages out, made it work. And and this is the bindings. So I had to make a change. So the change I made was, instead of using pre-build, which is a pretty cool project, to manage uploading to GitHub all those builds. I use pre-buildify, which is the same org. It basically, instead of uploading it somewhere, it just puts it all in a directory.
Mhm.
And so what we
That's
could
what we
do
want.
is run this on Windows, Linux, and OS X, and then have it put all those files in a directory, copy them all to the same directory from those 3 systems, and then publish to NPM with that.
Let's go.
So let's see. Let's pull it up. So what I have here today is a package that I can run npm install on. Let's see. Boom. Let's pull up the terminal here. Should I make it bigger? I'll make it bigger.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
So it never hurts. And so I can type. Let's just pull up package.json. When you install it, let's see. It can build it for your own system, but it doesn't have to if it has this pre-builds folder. And these are, I ran npm run pre-build, which runs pre-buildify. It takes a minute, and it created all these .node files. And these are the binary modules.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have this here. I'm 14, right? So it works. Boom. And I've been publishing it manually. So I like using NP, but whatever. So I can publish it and it goes. And I think we want to change this now, right? How do we want to change it?
Yeah. We want to automate the releases with semantic release.
Okay.
But I think I would start out by adding a GitHub workflow file and adding a build matrix.
Okay.
So that this build step gets run on macOS, Linux, and Windows.
Now I can steal something from the serial port project, perhaps. I think
That's okay. That's how we all roll, right? Copy and paste.
All right, cool. All right, so we need a workflows folder. Is that right?
Yeah. Workflows, and then a .yaml file in there. So you can just call it build.yaml or something.
Okay. Now, will this run tests or just actually build and deploy? What do we do?
No, this will just run build. Like the workflow that I like to do is run tests in pull requests and enforce a pull request process. So everything that lands in the default branch or a release branch no longer needs to be tested. It has already been tested.
Post merge?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But we can change it later. So what I would do right now is I would remove the on push and instead use workflow _ dispatch, because
what's that?
You say on : and then workflow dispatch. This is
okay.
Yeah. So instead of push, that will work. So this gives you a button on the GitHub Actions UI, so you can manually trigger a build whenever you want.
Oh, I love this. Oh, this is great. Okay. Very cool.
Okay.
All right. So my matrix has Linux. I have 2 flavors of Windows, 32-bit and 64-bit. Node is dropped 32-bit Linux. And there's no such thing as 32-bit OS X. So maybe one day we'll get the ARM here.
Yeah, I was mentioning on pre-call that GitHub is working on making the new Mac OS Big Sur, I think, available. So that we will have an ARM target. Okay, so we check out the repository. You can change V1 to V2 because there's a new version.
Is it faster?
You can set up Node to V2 as well.
Cool.
So these are the latest versions for Git Action Checkout makes the code available from the repository. and action setup node basically sets up a node version.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm going to keep this. I guess I don't need this in the matrix today because right now I'm only building on.
Yeah,
It's fine the way
just
it
leave
is.
it. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
All right. I don't know if this is still necessary. This was definitely necessary at some point to get building correct, but let's just leave it and then maybe
Just
we
leave
pull
it
it out
out.
later.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think I would delete it and add it if it's needed. If
All
I
right.
kind of want
Let's
to
do
use
it.
this as a showcase thing.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
I don't
All
think
right.
we need to upgrade NPM, do we? If we use Node 14, or like what's that?
Nope. I think there was a bug I was running around.
Okay.
I was working around. There are so many moving parts to this process usually that it is, you know, you should have seen some of the early Travis CI days. Oh my goodness.
Rest in peace, Travis.
Yeah.
So if name and run is the same thing, you can remove name because name will fall back to whatever run has. So it becomes a little simpler if you want.
Yeah, I do. And so now we have a new one, pre-build. Oh, same thing. Okay. Great.
Okay.
Now, and I also don't need to upload anywhere. Not doing that anymore.
So I would maybe add one more step where you just do an ls to show that the file was created.
So, is it R recursive? Is that?
I have no idea. I just use ls and then whatever folder name.
Hold on. There we are. Big R.
Okay.
Okay. And then pre-builds. And that should, I'm just going to run this locally, make sure this does what I want. Boom. That should give us every single thing I built.
Awesome.
All right. Should I commit this to master?
Yeah, commit it to whatever your default branch is.
All right. Build workflow. And I guess if we're going to move to semantic release.
Yeah.
Is this a feature?
It shouldn't. No, I would just call it CI, but we don't have semantic release set up yet, so it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't. Okay.
We get to it when we get to it with semantic release.
Cool. I'll push it. Let's take a look at it. All right. So where do I find this button?
Go to Actions, tab, and on the left side, select your action workflow. And on the right, you see Run Workflow.
That's
you can
amazing.
even add like inputs. So you can say like, people have to define a specific operating system. So you can make it conditional. It's pretty cool. But by default, you just select the branch. Okay. So wait for a second, and then there it is.
Number one. Let's take a look. We got our 4 systems we're building on.
Okay. Well, I think you can press on any of them.
Let's go to the Linux one.
And then press Shift F.
Shift F. What?
Yeah, that's really useful, especially for screencasts like this.
Oh my goodness. All right. And so here it is. These warnings are okay. I'm also hiring a C++ developer to help bring the code up to speed. They still work. The warnings become errors eventually, but
you will be paid by GitHub stars.
You could actually be paid by my my Patreon. No, not Patreon.
Open Collective.
Open Collective. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry I made fun of it. Yeah, that's cool. So that would be a good use of the $500 in your collective to address these warnings.
The real ask there is to help port us from native from NAPI. Sorry, from NAN to NAPI. And to stop, there's a couple libuv features we use that are now part of NAPI, which is now called Node API, which means I'll be able to, instead of building a binary for every version of Node, I could build one that works on every version of Node and Electron per
So if you
platform.
build it yourself or like an experienced Node/C developer, like what do you think? Is this like a 1 week job, 1 month job? Like
I think it's a week job. I think you have to understand, if you've done this work before, it's probably less than a week. It's probably like a day or two. But if you haven't, it's probably a week or two.
okay.
I've worked hard to make sure that there's as little C code as possible, because literally I don't have many people to support it. And it's been few. The volunteers have been few and far between.
Yeah. Well, shout out to all the C developers who want to help maintain Node serial port. That's a great project to help out. So what we are seeing here right now, so we have the pre-builds for all the different operating system. In this case, Ubuntu. Oh, it's just finished. And then let's see what it puts out.
So this was the Linux build, and so now we have all the Electron APIs and all the Node APIs. Now, let's go to the F, right? Shift F. Looks like Windows is still running.
Then do these final names have these final outputs have all the same names, or are the names all different in Windows, Linux, or Mac?
They're going to be a little different because different things are available. However, they will all be, let's just go to the finished one. They will all be in this pre-builds directory under the right folder, the folder for their platform.
Got it.
And so we might have the same file for Windows and for Mac, but it'll be in the right directory.
Okay, well, looks like we will have a lot of time to fill with chatting while these builds are running. We better get it right on first try.
I could probably tell it to not build everything for every platform. I don't know how. So I'll tell you what. Let's take advantage of this moment to show off Prebuildify.
Okay.
And this allows, let's see, 9 days ago. As I was saying before, is it's easier if you ship all the binaries in the same package, and the irony is sometimes it's often faster, to have a larger npm package than have the secondary download. The pre-build project has been amazing. There's one other one out there whose name I'm blanking on. Geez, it's a Home Pre-Builders Association. I like it.
No worries. I can add it to the show notes or we can add it to the issue thread on GitHub.
Yeah, they've made this sort of a dream. Oh, what do you know? Windows failed. Do you know why it failed? Because there's no LS on Windows.
Oh, okay. Well, we can live with that.
You know what? I bet you there is an LS. There's no -LAR on Windows.
Okay, but we will get rid of LS anyway.
Yeah.
So
pre-build worked, so we're good.
For the next step, what we want is to upload all these files from these builds somehow, and then have another build which runs after all these matrix builds, downloads all the files from the different matrix builds, and then kind of have them all together in one directory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's check out the build YAML file. And one thing that I would do is, I think I would rename the job in line 5 from task to like build_matrix or something like this.
Sounds good.
Okay, and then at the end of the file, add a new job and just call it build.
Okay.
And then you can define requirements from one job to another with needs column. So you say needs colon and then build matrix. And
Okay.
now this job waits until all the others are complete. And then you can do steps colon, and you will need to check out the repository again. So like the same what you
Okay.
have in line 16. Yeah,
I will need
basically
the
this.
node too eventually,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Okay. Just paste this there. That looks good. Now we don't have a matrix for the Node version, so you
Oh,
can just hard code it now. So you can just
okay.
say like we will just use Node 14, for
Gotcha.
example. So I
Can I just
don't
type 14 or
think
do I need to do?
no I think everything that works with NVM will work here as well.
Ah, sweet.
So you can just say 14, and
Okay.
then remove that part.
Okay.
Okay.
Probably the name is probably fine, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I can just leave. Yeah. So that's fine. So next let's remove the ls command in line 23. And now we will use an action called action/upload artifacts.
Okay. Upload artifacts.
Yeah. And
F8.
it's a artifact without a s. v2.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can maybe just open the GitHub repository with the same name so we can quickly show what it does.
Sounds like a plan.
GitHub artifacts are exactly what you want. It's basically like attachments to your GitHub workflows. And for each run, these artifacts will show up in the UI. So you can go in there and then manually download them as well if you want to, but you can also upload and then later download them programmatically. So when you go down in usage, let's check out upload first. And
Yeah, sorry.
there's
I was like, download. That seems like the other side.
so I would say upload an entire directory, probably, but yeah, let's do upload an entire directory because it should upload the subdirectory and everything. I think it zips it all up, so it will work with a directory structure as well.
Do I want different names for each one?
Everything will be the same name. I would just
Okay.
call everything like build artifacts or builds or something like that.
Okay.
But that's exactly what we need, yeah.
All right. So let's fix these dents. And let's call this what should we call them? Sorry, I
would call them build-artifacts, just to be very explicit.
Okay. And then we know it's in the pre-builds folder.
Okay. So that should work.
All right.
That's it, basically. So after the it's done building, it uploads the contents to the artifacts of the workflow. And then we will use the actions download artifact, basically the second tab you just opened.
Yeah.
And there we want to download the whole directory, I think. If you so you just define name and you define path as well. Download a specific directory.
Working directory.
No, not.
Oh, I got you.
This
right
one,
here.
yeah. This is what we want.
Let's try it out. And so this is going to be build artifacts.
Yeah, just the same name.
And we want them all to go to the same place. So hopefully
to the same place. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Basically, before you run npm run prebuild to create it, and now we don't run prebuild. Instead, we download the stuff that is there. Okay, so I think we should be done. So now we could.
Hold on. I'm also just going to throw getting npm in there so we don't forget later. Should we do an ls?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think now you can do the rs with all the capital R, right? I think it was
that's right.
R.
And by default, is this Linux?
Oh no, we need to define it. Things. So runs on Ubuntu latest. We have to add that.
Okay.
Very
Runs
good
on.
catch.
And we'll do. You said Ubuntu latest, right?
Ubuntu latest, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just. Is this?
I don't think you need to define the arc, but yeah, you can.
You're right. I don't need the arc in this case.
Yeah.
So I don't need the OS here either, do
You
I?
don't need the OS either, exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So that looks good. And then we do the LS and hope for the best that we don't have a stupid typo and
Get status. Cool.
yeah, just commit it with CI : use artifacts or whatever.
Yeah. RTIFI. All right. Boom.
It's funny, I use GP for pulling.
Everybody's got their own
Yeah.
their own little. All right, so we'll go back to actions. Oh no, this is fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
And then we're gonna do run workflow.
On master, exactly.
Give it a second.
Okay.
And
Now we have to find some more stuff to talk about.
All right. Well, I got a great question for you here. What
But
are
you
the other
see
triggers?
the dependencies now nicely in the graph, right? So you see we have the build metrics, which has 4 jobs that can run in parallel, and then there's a build step that runs after it.
I love it.
All right. What's your question?
My question is, what other cool triggers are there besides workflow dispatch? Or let's can we pull up the docs on this?
Yeah. So
like you said.
So like GitHub Actions events that trigger. No, that's a name of an actual GitHub action. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Google or like on DuckDuckGo search for events that trigger GitHub Actions. I think you will find it.
The change log.
Events that trigger workflows. It was the link below. This is specific for the workflow dispatch, but the second result, I think, was all of them.
There we are.
If you know webhook events with GitHub apps where GitHub sends requests to your server, it's like 95% the same thing. But it has workflow dispatch, which is new, and it also has a schedule, so you can run cron jobs.
What's repository?
So it's kind of repository dispatch was there before workflow dispatch, and every kind of action with write access to your repository can basically trigger custom events and give it a custom name and attach like a custom JSON with your own configuration. And then you can use this repository dispatch event to trigger either other GitHub apps, they get notified, or actions. So I use that quite a lot actually to use custom events between repositories. For example, I'm working on this thing with Tierney from Node.js ComCom, where he wrote this thing where it automatically tweets at NodeKitten, I think, each time there is a new Node version.
Huh.
And then we created a GitHub app you can install on your repositories. And each time there is a new version, you get a repository dispatch event if you install this GitHub app. And then you can write an action which receives the new Node version numbers. And you can, for example, update your workflow files with that information.
Whoa.
So you can automate the process.
Whoa. That's pretty cool. I can't. Changing. You could have some crazy web dependencies across all of GitHub. Like it's like GitHub's being turned into like a big decentralized like supercomputer.
It is, yeah. And they will just throw more machine learning on it and put us out of our job. You will see.
I welcome the day. Could get
I
used to
agree. Yeah, I want to work more with people and less with machines. Let's see, where are we at?
We're almost there.
Building. Gosh,
This
I
was the
hope this will
fastest,
work out.
but everything else seemed to finish up pretty soon after that one did.
Oh, there's all your base pair. Hey, just joined our stream. Yes, to answer your question, we will record this and upload it to YouTube after the show. And you can just subscribe to the issue on GitHub, where we will post all the information from the stream. And I'll also post links to this video on Twitch and later on YouTube. So it will be archived forever.
Yeah, this is the issue. Nice to meet you. All right, looks like we're almost done. OS 10 taking the longest.
This is very exciting. Okay, click on summary.
Okay.
On the left side, so we get this sweet view on it. And like, pray with us to the demo gets to shine on our live stream today. Oh, you can move it around? I didn't know.
You can zoom in, I guess. You can make it fit.
Cool.
I bet you this control here was harder to make than everything else on this page.
I don't know, but
I have a lot of respect
for
people who deal with graphics on the web. It's very hard for me.
It is very hard. Come on, macOS. Why are you so slow?
I bet you it didn't start until after. No, it's been running for longer.
It's running 5 minutes, yeah.
Well, should we look at it, see if it's stuck? I don't think it's stuck.
It looks good. Well, how about? I don't know. Well, we can
All right, let me talk about what I know about WebAssembly and Rust, because these are things that are coming up here. So I am actually I'm an awful Rust programmer, but I'm a better Rust programmer than I'm a C++ programmer. And so I've been looking into like, what if I rewrite the bindings in Rust? And there's this project called NAPI-RS, which lets you use the NAPI bindings. So instead of having the, 48? Ooh, wait, it finished. And now build is running. All right. So let's see. Let's look at build. Okay, I'll talk about Rust later. What?
Log was not whatever. That's nothing. Okay.
It's downloading 8480. Oh, and here we are. All right.
Okay.
So we have.
Does it have all the files?
All 3 folders. There should be 4 folders, I thought, but maybe both the Linux, maybe both the Windows, maybe it could be that this is not actually 32-bit Windows.
Okay.
Maybe we can look into that. I care a little less of.
Let's assume it worked. I think we have enough imagination. Okay.
And so we have all the Darwin, which is OS 10. We have all the Linux, and then we have all the Windows. And there we are. We got everything.
Cool. All right. Well, you have what you wanted, right? So that works. That was pretty easy. And big shout out to the GitHub Actions team and the team who's working on the JavaScript SDKs. Both these actions use the Actions Toolkit package on NPM to make this all work. So shout out to them.
Very cool.
Now let's publish this to NPM.
Let's do it. How do I do that?
So first thing is you will need to create an NPM token to publish it to NPM, and then create a secret in the repository. So just kill your stream here.
All right. We log in NPM then. Thank you very much for killing my stream.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm actually going to do it on the other monitor just in case.
Okay.
So I don't have to. All right.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. Yeah, so you can create an automation token with NPM, and then create a secret called NPM token or something. And then we will need this token for semantic release.
And I need my 2FA.
So semantic release, to everyone who's watching, to fill the time a little bit.
Please, please.
Let me
So right now I can click this button to publish it perhaps, but what would semantic release do for me?
So two-factor authentication you will only need when you create this token, and the automation later will not require two-factor authentication. What semantic release does is it automates the process of creating a new release on npm, GitHub, and other targets based on your commit messages. So if you create commit following certain conventions like feed colon or fix colon like here, or you use breaking change in the commit body by default, then it will automatically calculate the next version number and create a GitHub release with all the release notes, and also publish the same release to npm. On GitHub, it also comments on all the pull requests that are included in this release, all the issues that were closed, and so on. So there's a lot of magic going on that saves us a lot of manual labor to do that.
I've got a token, but I need a little help adding it to GitHub. So switch back to my screen for a minute. I won't put anything secret there, but I'm assuming I'm in project settings. New repository secret.
And then npm_token. And then let me remove your screen again and just paste the token in there and save it. And then open your editor with the workflow file again.
All right, it's off the screen. You bring it back.
Okay, npm token.
So npm token. Cool. Now what?
Now I need to see your screen. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So now we just run semantic release.
Really? That's it? All right.
No, not quite.
No,
we will have
I gotta
to check
install it.
things. Do npx semantic release. So we'll just directly run it from npx.
It's not semantic, it's semantic, right?
No, like semantic versioning.
Yeah,
semantic -release.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, better not introduce a typo now. And then you have to pass the npm token environment variable to this step. So you do env colon, and then the property is npm token.
Okay.
Yeah, and then $, kind of like the placeholders you have above for the matrix value. So $, 2 curly braces open, and then secrets.npm token. And npm token here is now the name of the secret you just created. And then you also have to pass a GitHub token. So you can just pass secrets.github token, which is provided automatically by the GitHub workflow runner.
Is it all
capital?
All right.
Yeah.
Screaming snake case. Gotcha. All right.
Okay.
All
right.
So
now, we have to make sure that GitHub, that semantic release understands what the current version is, because it doesn't really understand GitHub, it only understands Git. So did you publish this package to npm before?
I have, yes. Yes, I have.
Okay, what version is it in?
It's version 909.
Okay, you know what? You can start by replacing that version and just replace it with 0.0.0-development. Just to make clear, this is being replaced as part of the release process, because the new version is calculated automatically and then it's set in npm.
How is it calculated automatically?
Using the commit messages. All right.
I understand. How does it know what the next one is? Does it ask npm or?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Basically, on Git, it checks the Git tags that exist. So basically what we need to do to make sure that semantic release picks up all commit messages since the last release, we have to make sure there is a Git tag called v9.0.9, which I think it's already there because you can see it here, right?
Yep. Good.
Okay.
All right.
So now,
cool.
Now we actually need to use like a commit message that uses this convention.
I got a question for you before we do that.
Okay.
Should I install this in my dev dependencies here?
You don't. You can if you want to have full control, and semantic release might break in future, but you should be pretty safe not to.
I'm gonna do it, and also we could change this to npm CI, right?
If you have the package log file, you can use it to npm
make sure I don't get
CI
ignore
on line 20 as well.
Okay, cool. Which is totally fine for these things.
Then you probably have the pre-builds folder in your git ignore.
I do, and we want it there.
But we want it there. But when we publish it, we don't want it in there.
Well, the npm ignore doesn't ignore it.
Okay, so I guess that will then work already, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It worked locally, so.
All right. Let's hope for the best.
All right. So
now,
let's take a quick look at what we changed.
Okay.
We now have this publish step where we do semantic release, and we have the environment set up. We have the environment already. We changed the version numbers. I threw it in my deps because I like doing that. And now I want it to do a major release. So what's my
major release? Like, is it a breaking change, or I would say it's a feature release.
Okay. Feature.
I think for the user, I wouldn't say what you did, but from the user's perspective, the feature is now that the native bindings are part of the published package, like include native bindings in NPM
That's a major change. For all platforms. No, let's just say for Win32, because right now the published one only is Mac, because I did it on my own computer, and Linux are now included.
Okay. So this is a breaking change. Why?
You know what? It's not. If you are using this on Windows or Linux, you now have something you didn't have before. So instead of building it locally, it's gonna use the pre-build, which should be the same. But like, I'd want to communicate there's something different going on. Okay.
So you can, in the commit body, you do breaking space change colon all cap. And then you can describe whatever breaking change there is. So all your base said that he usually likes the first major version to show that it's stable, but we are already at version 9. So that's not a problem here. And semantic release, when you create the first release, it always starts at 1.0.0. But for pre-releases, semantic release supports alpha and beta release channels. So that's usually what I would recommend to do.
I'll just keep it on because this isn't a package. This is for real.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go. Let's commit it.
Commit it and
straight to master.
Wait. Wait.
Shit.
It's okay. No, nothing happened because we still have the workflow dispatch trigger, right?
Okay.
So we can leave it if you want, and then check for the event before we do the release, because the release will only work if we push to master. But just to keep it easy, let me just write push in a new line, and then you can say branches, because then we can define we only want this to run in branches colon, and then it's an array, and we just want to have it in main. Oh, master. Sorry,
Yeah,
master in your
sorry.
case. Yes.
All
Okay.
my tooling uses master, so I haven't
Yeah,
switched it yet.
we need some tooling to migrate this stuff automatically, so that it also updates our CI configuration, right?
Yeah. All right. Build and publish.
I want to do this myself. I'll let you know. Okay, so
All right.
commit this, and you can
So
just
this is
say CI and build and release from master. Yeah.
all right. Cool.
Okay.
This is the
I
wonderful
never.
GitX open source project. Lets you stage lines and stuff instead of like
Yeah.
everything. It's as visual ones go, it's great. It's unfortunately been forked and abandoned 1,000 times, and
Yeah.
so there's currently a centralization of it, which works okay. All right, it's going already because we changed the trigger.
All right. Let's see. Okay, I guess this will now take a moment. I don't know how you are with time. We are approaching 1 p.m.
I have checking with my boss in 4 minutes, so
Okay, I would
we're probably
say,
not going to see it happen. But you know what?
yeah.
Let me just slack him and be like, mind if I'm a few minutes late, and then we can either cheer or fix it offline.
Okay. So here, all your base pair asks if this is the website for GitX. Do you know?
That is the old one.
GitX.frim.nl.
I would use GitHub/GitX, and so I mean that that is the URL. The one you posted is the URL for GitX for a GitX. The current most up to date fork is here. I find that it gets a little laggy sometimes, but it still works fine. I had a fork that stopped working because of some OS updates that was a little bit more responsive and I loved, and there are people working on it, which is fantastic. So I haven't checked in a month or two, but I built my own. Oh, dark mode. We get dark mode now. That's great. That's what I want. I want dark mode.
Did you ever try the GitHub desktop application? I
I
think they have
have.
similar features too, right? But probably more than you need.
It calls like pushing and pulling syncing, which hides what I'm really doing, and I force push a lot, and I amend commits religiously, like the end of a branch. If it's not one commit, it is commits that tell a story, and has no relation to the temporal change, docs will be last, I'll have this isolated change here, this isolated change there. And so I might have made those all out of order, but when I have my PR up, it's for a human, and I can't do that with GitHub Desktop. At least last time I looked at it.
Hey babies, is this yours or is this mine?
I think it's your baby.
Oh, you don't hear them?
No.
Nice.
My kid's gonna be sleeping for maybe another hour.
Yeah. I have this new fancy software that basically removes all noise other than my own voice. And I have my manager using it, and there was a kid next to him screaming, and I just didn't hear this kid. It's just incredible. Wow. I just didn't understand what this magic was. So yeah.
Let me talk a little while this goes about WebAssembly and how this fits in. So we have the C code, right? And I'm thinking of replacing it with Rust code, which works very similarly. You end up with this binary that you have to require, and they talk in the same sort of C-level library interface to Node and V8 and all that. But there's this thing called WebAssembly, which lets you, which you can compile from Rust. I think any LLVM language. I actually don't know if C goes to WebAssembly. Assembly script is a big one. And I've been working with this at work because we're doing this thing where you can run your own code as part of our plugins. And it's very fast. It works very well. But there's no, it's sandboxed, so there's no like security in it, you can't get out of it. So you can run untrusted code, which is nice. But there's also no serial port interfaces for it. So there's this runtime for WebAssembly called WASI-time. And man, called WASI-time. Sorry, I'm hearing my own echo now. They will expose file system primitives and other kind of stuff there. And so I want to get a serial port interface for WASI-time or for one of its other similar runtime. And that way we can have all the code running in WebAssembly, which is completely platform agnostic, and then have this sort of base serial interface, out there. And that way we can, like, I don't know, have nothing that needs to be compiled at all and still have access to all these things. So that would be a cool dream in the future, but we'll see.
I think it might also be easier to find Rust developers who might be interested in help maintaining it. I think there's a bigger overlap between Rust developers and Node developers than with Node developers and C developers.
Well, I think I'll get back to this and get it to a point where I'm a little happier. Mm-hmm. Somebody made some Rust serial port. This works. You can list your serial ports. And in fact, if we go and we, let's see, where's my test project? Here it is. So this is the one I built. Sorry. Yeah. So I deployed this earlier. This isn't the one we deployed, but if I run this, it works. And I can do this basically with my Rust one, And so shows here, it's got my, where's my Arduino? Is it unplugged? Plug it back in, come on. There it is, Arduino. But we're gonna see if the one that we published works. Anyway, I can do that for my Rust one. I can't do any communication, talking yet on my Rust one yet. So.
Maybe like, I don't know if you already have like an issue where you describe this plan where people might subscribe to or comment on serial port, and then we can mention the issue in the show notes. So if anyone is listening and says like, hey, this is cool, and they wonder like, how do I sign up for this? We should give them something.
Let's see if I've already done that, and if not, I'll make one.
Did our action just fail, or was this like an old workflow?
That was an old workflow. Our action's still going.
Oh my gosh.
Right? OS 10 is nice and slow. You know what? I wonder why it's so slow, to be honest, because like...
I think it's just harder to build. I remember the same from Travis back in the days. Like
they didn't have nearly as many OS 10.
Something happened. Upload. Oh my goodness. Go back.
Okay.
Let's watch it. Cool. Published live on Twitch TV.
Come on.
Come on, you can do it.
I should have sent my
I
my
love
the link.
Watching releases happening live from CI. This is still magical after all these years.
Any serial port users out there, don't use what we're publishing now. I'm going to get this into the main serial port. This will work, actually. This is like ripped out from this morning. There is a low latency Linux bug fix that I haven't merged yet.
Line 46. So it did it.
Oh my goodness. All right, line 46.
Yeah.
Version 10.
Yep. You can open the repository now and go to releases on GitHub, and also you see the published package there as well. So it will be on NPM as well.
And we're going to download it and see if it works. So here it is. And now I'm going to go back here. I don't remember what it was called. NPM install at 10.0.0.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Cool. And then node. Boom.
It works?
It worked. It works.
Oh man, high five. All right. Thank you so much. I know you gotta move on. This is awesome.
I learned a ton. I appreciate this a lot.
If you have any more questions, shout out to me anytime. You can just comment on our show GitHub issue. Same for everyone who is watching. Thank you so much for coming today. Subscribe to the issue 7 on my Helpdesk repository, and I will get back to you there.
And this is how it all started. So thank you so much.
Very, very cool.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.